Thank you, Ms. Nimden. I think your story in the end had the telling tale of everything. Cooperation, collaboration, and consultation. So together, the monkey, the rabbit, the elephant, and the bird finally work together to get the fruits of labor. I think you touched upon a very important issue which is very dear in the Western world. Your concept of gross national happiness is viewed, examined, researched, talked about very well in literatures, in the donor community, and many other countries that I am aware of. So they are very, very keen to understand and appreciate and learn from your GNH concept. So thank you once again for providing us with an excellent exposition of the Royal Kingdom of Bhutan. With these few words, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasant duty to introduce to you our Dr. P.D. Jose. He has been a chair in the session, and therefore I don't need to repeat much of what has been said about him. Suffices to say that Jose is a AAA, a fellow of the Indian Institute of Management, a postgraduate diploma in forestry management from the Indian Institute of Forest Management and Bhopal, and a Bachelor of Physics from the Institute of Science and Bombay. He has it all: environment, physicist, and finally a management scholar. With these few words, let me invite the eminent Professor Jose to come and share with us a few words within 8 minutes, please, sir, of South Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished panelists on the dais, friends. I just realized that the gross happiness of this room would significantly increase if you could all have a hot cup of tea at this moment of time. And so I'm not going to stand between you and the tea. I will be very brief in my comments. But I also want to start with the story, and I'm starting with this story because I was just wondering, why are we sitting in this room? Why are we having this discussion? And I'm reminded of a story that I heard long ago about a captain on a ship. It's a very, the story is how they start. It's a very dark and lonely and stormy night. And the captain is standing along with a few others on the deck of the ship. It's particularly stormy, and one of the sailors falls overboard. The captain jumps in, saves him, and it's freezing cold, and he risks his life. He saves him, and they all, eventually they all get back onto the ship, and the rest of the team decides to throw a grand party to honor the captain. So they ask him, why did you do this wonderful thing? And he says, it's my duty. I should do anything to save my people, their lives as precious as mine, and so on. So they're all pleased with his bravery and his courage, his goodwill, his goodness, all of that. At some time during the party, when he has had probably one drink too many, his assistant calls him aside and asks him, sir, I know you are not telling me the truth. Tell me, why did you really save this man? The captain turns to him and says, first find me the guy who pushed me in. So I sometimes think that we as environmentalists have been somewhat pushed into this. That, I think, leads us to the next question, really, what can lead to professionalism in this sector? So for me, an environmental professional is not just a consultant, not an auditor, not an academic, not a manager, not an activist, because these are all basic training. What really distinguishes an environmental professional is basically orientation. It's really important to talk about this. So I could talk a lot about India. I don't really want to give you the context, but except to tell you that the one claim that India has to fame is that it's probably the only country in the world that has right to environment enshrined in the Constitution of India. So it's considered equivalent to right to life. And so therefore, and of course now new legislations and so on, but therefore there is something that we can all learn from each other. So when I was trying to prepare for this, of course I had a long list of things that we need to professionalize environmentalists as a profession here, from standards to codes of conduct to certification to specifying entry conditions to to how do you provide continued development opportunities. I thought about it all, I think, most of it, but I'm not going to bore you with it. But I want to just stress 2 points, which I think take off from what you mentioned. One is, of course, every subject, every discipline, every profession has a context. Our context is the South Asian region, and we cannot forget that. So the question that we want to ask is, if we want to professionalize this profession, then what is the context that we are working with? Do we really sufficiently appreciate this context that we are in? You know, as you very nicely said, and I think many of you pointed this out, we share the same problems, we share the same context, but we simply don't share. Let me illustrate by what I mean by that. Most countries of the SAARC region have a problem with energy. The lack of it primarily. But if the countries of the SAARC region would collaborate between, say, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, India, and Bangladesh, we could pretty much be a self-sufficient region in terms of energy. But though we share the problems, we are not willing to share the solutions because we are not willing to share. So there is the first question that I think, if you're really looking at creating a sustainable SAARC region, what we need are 2 things. One is the spirit of collaboration, not the spirit of talk, the spirit of collaboration. The spirit of, and let me explain that a little bit in terms of spirit of collaboration, I am really referring to all of us working together in a context that is very specific to us, not adopting Western ideas. For instance, for my school, we tried to look at whether we could get LEED certified. And we found that's really not appropriate. But then the Energy and Resources Institute of India developed what is called as the Griha standards. So the question is, we don't need to adopt Western standards or Western practices, because some of those practices have been with us. We today talk about CSR, but the concept of trusteeship has been embedded into the South Asian culture, into the Indian culture, certainly into the culture of the people who founded this, the organization that owns this hotel, the Tata Group, and various others. The concept of trusteeship has been embedded in our culture. So we lost the word trusteeship, we adopted the word CSR, and now we are running with it. So can we contextualize sustainability in our context? Can we collaborate? Let me put a challenge forward to AMDISA. I've heard so much about the history of AMDISA, but I also understand that AMDISA today has practically every worthwhile institution in this region collaborating with it. What stops AMDISA from launching a MBA in sustainability that cuts across these countries? Because the problems are similar. The solutions must emerge out of this context. And for the solutions to emerge, there must be understanding and tolerance. Understanding and tolerance will not happen unless we sit and talk, unless we share. So here is the one challenge that I want to leave before you. I know as a professor, it's easy to leave challenges and walk away. I'm going to do that. But that's a challenge that I would like to leave before you. If we want to truly transform our society, there is no alternative to sitting together and working out the solutions on our own. Nobody else is going to help us. And I think, Your Excellency, I think you said it very clearly. At the end of the day, we have to help ourselves. But for us to help ourselves, we need to understand that we are truly interdependent as a region. There is no way that we can pursue the path of sustainability independently on our own. The way we manage our waters has impact on Pakistan and on Bangladesh, and so on. The way Bhutan or Nepal would manage its waters would have implications for us. The way we manage our fisheries has implications for Sri Lanka. If something happens to Maldives, we are the only countries that they would come to. So I think there is great element of interconnectedness, which we understand which we probably appreciate, but we are not willing to work on. So here is a challenge. What if we created an MBA program that actually took students, sponsored by AMDISA, took students across these different SAARC regions? Maybe half a term, maybe one term, maybe a project in each of these countries. And what if AMDISA decided to diplomatically lobby with the respective countries that this degree will be valid in all the SAARC region? I think it will be a great initiative. I think it will build more understanding. It will create more solutions than any conference or all the conferences this region has managed to put together. Do we have the courage to do that? Probably. Do we actually, courage is not the word really. Will we do that? I hope we do. And I think we need to do that. I want to conclude borrowing on a very nice slogan that I saw here of the Sri Lankan Telecom. It struck me the first time I saw it, one country, one voice. And I think in the spirit of tolerance, forgiveness, because we have a history that, for whatever reasons, we have a history with each other. It's a history that cannot be forgotten. But it's a history that we don't have to relive again and again. And therefore, I'm just borrowing from the Sri Lankan Telecom, the wonderful statement they made, one country, one voice. I'm saying we have one region, one vision, one future. It's up to us to realize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Joss. I don't need to sum up. You said it all, one region, one vision, and one nation. I think that is the way forward for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be failing in my duties if I do not thank our eminent scholars, practitioners, high commissioners, and academia for keeping to the spirit of the 90 minutes, although I can see by my watch that we have gone slightly over. And there being no questions, I would like on your behalf to thank our eminent panelists here for their communicating to us. And thank you once again for being with us, listening so patiently and attentively. And thank you for not raising any questions because tea is being served. So with these few words, I would declare the session closed.
Right. So now to hand over the token of appreciation, may I now invite Dr. Ashok Joshi, President of AMDISA, to hand over the tokens of appreciation. Mr. Mohammed Jazimuddin, Dr. Alimullah Mian, Professor Gunapala Malasekara, and Dr. Muhammad Latif, and His Excellency Mr. Aziz Ahmed Zara, and Mr. Punyaprasad Naipune, and Ms. Nimdem, and Dr. P.D. Josh.